Welcome back to another video. As always, I'm going to start off by saying you should absolutely enjoy whatever it is you enjoy. You should have a great time with it. And don't try and pay too much attention to the constant negativity or the constant what ifs. However, I would be remiss if I didn't report on some of the things that I find very interesting. Microsoft and Xbox have said that Call of Duty and Activision, they wanted to take at least 5% of the PlayStation audience to the Xbox with that acquisition, with that dump in GamePass, and instead they lost 10% of Xbox players to PlayStation after the Activision acquisition. So what does this mean? This means that most people are choosing PlayStation no matter what. Game Pass is not moving the needle. It's not attracting people to Xbox, probably, in my opinion, because they haven't communicated the idea of Game Pass in a good enough way. Because most people, not hardcore gamers, but most people would say, hey, $20 a month for first-party games and all the other third-party games that are in there, that seems like a great deal. But what I feel and what you feel isn't the reality of the situation, and consumers, when it comes to PlayStation and Xbox, are choosing PlayStation overwhelmingly. Now, you could say, well, Xbox and PlayStation, their consoles aren't growing, even though you can sell a lot less than you did last generation and make a lot more because prices for the hardware are higher, services are more of a thing. So there's a lot of ways to factor in this idea of X amount of boxes sold versus X amount of boxes sold last generation. It's not that big, but it does seem like most people are choosing PlayStation. So what does this mean going forward? Well, it's not feeling very good when it comes to Xbox. So what does this mean going forward into next generation when it comes to Xbox? Look, there's a definite question mark when it comes to Xbox as far as hardware goes. If you purchased a ton of games, if you continue to invest in the Xbox ecosystem, if you're a console-specific gamer, it's starting to feel like that Dreamcast era. They paused production of the Xbox Series consoles in a lot of regions, and people are saying that's so that the stock could catch up with demand. But Sega did this with Dreamcast. They paused production, and then when asked later on, they said they have no plans to start production again, which essentially signaled that Sega was out of the hardware race. Now, I don't think that Microsoft's going to do that anytime soon, but there is that perception out there, and perception is reality, and that's only going to further push consumers away from the Xbox brand when it comes to hardware. Now, I'm well aware that there are multiple revenue streams for Xbox now that they're putting their games on PC, PlayStation 5, and Switch 2. But how long do you think they can continue each generation if the hardware that they're making is simply not being purchased by consumers? And I can see a situation where next generation, whatever the next Xbox piece of hardware is, it's selling even worse than it is right now. And no matter how many different revenue streams Microsoft has, that expense of producing, manufacturing, and distributing hardware is going to hurt even more the less that people purchase those products. And I cannot see Microsoft continuing Xbox as a piece of hardware indefinitely. Now let's talk about your digital libraries. What happens if Xbox as a console goes away? Well, if Microsoft's worried about a lawsuit not giving you access to the content that you own, all they would have to do is say, hey, all of your Xbox games are on PC right now and on these portable devices if you choose to buy one. So we're off the hook. We still give you access to your content, even though that's not what you and I mean when we say access to our content. We want a box called Xbox under the television. Now, it just feels like all of these things keep compounding on themselves, and there's no way that they can just consistently ignore the fact that most people are choosing PlayStation. That means that more people will subscribe to PlayStation services. That means that more third parties will be more willing to do deals with PlayStation to put their games on that system. It means a lot selling boxes. I'm aware that there are other revenue streams out there. I'm aware that games cost way too much when you're talking about PlayStation and Xbox and what they do in the AAA space. And I made a video talking about that and why I feel if PlayStation doesn't get their costs under control, they may end up putting things in their service day and date. I don't ever see them putting things on other competitors day and date, but I don't know. These costs are out of control. But here's something I do know. As long as people are buying PlayStation 5s and PlayStation 5 Slims and PlayStation 5 digital, physical, PlayStation 5 Pros, tons of content, Call of Duty dropping into Game Pass instead of pulling 5%, 10% of Xbox customer bases go to PlayStation. I don't know how much longer I can confidently tell people to invest your time and your money and any other purchases for video games in the Xbox ecosystem if you are a console specific gamer. I'm not saying don't enjoy your Xbox. I have my Xbox. I love it. I think Game Pass is absolutely great. I really do. There's no way you can convince me that paying $70 for a game, if you're not a collector, is better than paying $20 to play it day and date with Indiana Jones, with Fable coming up, with Perfect Dark coming up, with Avowed coming. It all looks great. But with all of those things I just listed, consumers, when it comes to PlayStation and Xbox, all of those things that I just discussed that are benefits, consumers don't care. They are not choosing Xbox. It doesn't matter how valuable the service is. It doesn't matter the content. Obviously, the biggest game, Call of Duty, didn't matter. When consumers do not care about what you are doing, you need to figure out what it is they do care about, or you need to get out of that space and just do what it is that we know will be hugely successful, and that is become a third-party publisher, one of the biggest on PlayStation and Nintendo, and maybe then offer your service Game Pass there, because I'm sure that PlayStation and Nintendo would be more receptive to a service when a competitor doesn't have a piece of hardware on the shelf to compete with them. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. Am I being too simplistic with this analysis? I really do not want to spread any of this doom and gloom. I really do not want you to watch this video and think, I'm throwing out my Xbox, I'm not buying games anymore, I'm not going to enjoy it. But I do feel like things are starting to reach a tipping point when it comes to Microsoft and their hardware. And I have been there before. I have heard about production pauses, and then all of a sudden production doesn't start up again, and then magically we're a third party. So let me know what you think in the comments section below. Thanks for watching the video. Think about liking and subscribing, and I'll see you in the next video.